Here are 10 role players who turned into some of the best stars the NBA has ever seen, starting with Steve Nash. Steve Nash was drafted 15th overall in the 1996 NBA draft by the Phoenix Suns. His first few seasons weren't bad, but Nash was primarily seen as a solid backup point guard, not a future superstar. In his first 2 seasons, he usually came off the bench, but he was able to be that backup playmaker and facilitate the second unit. But Phoenix ended up trading Nash after his second season to the Dallas Mavericks because they just didn't see him as anything special. Steve Nash's first 2 seasons with the Dallas Mavericks started off a little slow, but by the time his third season came around, he really started to find his footing as a full-time starter, averaging 15.5 points and 7 assists. Skip to the next season, and by now Nash had become a full-time starter, and he even earned his first All-Star appearance. His leadership was becoming more and more evident, and his scoring ability was taking off. Now we fast forward to 2005, and Nash made the leap to MVP status over guys like LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. And the very next season, he won MVP again. And to this day, people wonder, how did he win it? And I'll tell you how. The Suns were missing their second best player, Amari Stoudemire, and Steve Nash still managed to get the Suns the second seed in the West. He made every player on his team better and made the Suns the best offense in the league. Now, Nash never did win a championship, but he will go down as one of the most unexpected superstars in NBA history. Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups was selected 3rd overall by the Boston Celtics in the 1997 NBA draft, but early on in his career, he was inconsistent and lacked an identity on the court. He was bounced around the NBA for a bit, playing for teams like the Celtics, the Raptors, and the Nuggets, never quite living up to his draft position. While he showed potential as a defender and a leader, his shooting consistency and ability to make plays weren't always reliable. Billups was viewed as more of a decent but non-star player early in his career. However, landing in Detroit might have changed his whole career. He settled in Detroit and immediately had the best statistical season of his career, jumping up to 16 points a game, and he kept on improving his already good defense. In just his 3rd year with the Pistons, Billups made it to the NBA Finals, winning Finals MVP after averaging 21 and 5 a game. His great performance led to Detroit's upset victory over the heavily favored Lakers. And during this span, Billups also became one of the most clutch players in the NBA, known for his ability to take over in clutch moments, all while remaining one of the league's top perimeter defenders. In 2006, Billups even worked his way up into the MVP ladder, finishing just 5th place in MVP player voting. Tracy McGrady. Tracy McGrady was drafted 9th overall in the 1997 NBA draft by the Toronto Raptors. For the Raptors, McGrady was a talented scorer, but he didn't have much of a role there in his first 2 seasons. But by his 3rd season with the Raptors, he was one of the best 6 men in the league, although he didn't win the award. In the 2000 offseason, Tracy was a free agent, and he was involved in a sign-and trade that landed him on the Orlando Magic. In his first year with the Magic, he was unrecognizable, and he was a brand new player, jumping from 15 points a game to 26.8 a game. Nobody saw this coming. It seemed all McGrady needed was a bigger role and the ball in his hands. He won Most Improved Player and got selected for his first All-Star game that year. In later seasons with the Magic, McGrady was also the NBA's scoring champ twice, and even after being traded to the Rockets, he was an All-Star every year for the next half a decade, until 2009 when injuries sadly started to sink his career. But no matter the injuries and the decline in the later part of his career, Tracy will always be remembered for his offensive skill set, which made him one of the most explosive players of his generation. Jermaine O'Neal. When Jermaine O'Neal was drafted straight out of high school in 1996, he landed on a loaded Portland Trail Blazers team. Over his first 4 seasons, he averaged just 4 points and 3 rebounds a game, buried on the bench behind veteran bigs like Rasheed Wallace and Sabonis. He rarely cracked 15 minutes a night. At that point, most might have viewed him as a bust or a fringe role player, but the Pacers saw potential in him and traded for him in the year 2000. That's when everything changed for him. In his first season with Indiana, O'Neal's numbers jumped to 12.9 points, 9.8 rebounds, and 2.8 blocks per game, instantly proving that he just needed opportunity. By 2002, he was a full-blown star, averaging 19 points, 10.5 rebounds, and even earning the NBA's Most Improved Player award. From 2002 to 2007, he made 6 straight All-Star teams and became a 20-10 threat every night, and even finished 3rd in MVP voting in 2004 behind Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan. Jermaine O'Neal's leap wasn't just a breakout, it was a reminder of how talent can be hidden behind depth and how the right environment can unlock a star. James Harden. James Harden was drafted 3rd overall in 2009 by the Oklahoma City Thunder, but he spent his first 3 seasons coming off the bench behind Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. He was efficient, crafty, and he was clearly skilled, but his role was limited. By year 3, he averaged 16.8 points, 4.1 rebounds, and 3.7 assists per game, good enough to win 6th Man of the Year, and playing a key role in OKC's run to the finals. But despite his production, OKC chose not to give him a max extension. That offseason, he was traded to the Houston Rockets, and as we all know, that's when he exploded. In his first game as a Rocket, Harden dropped 37 and 12, instantly silencing any doubts about him as a player. That season, he went on to average 25.9 points, 5.8 assists, and 5 rebounds, and since then, he's never looked back. From 2013 to 2020, Harden averaged nearly 30 points and 7 assists a game, and even won MVP in 2018 with a 38 and 5 stat line. What made Harden's leap historic was how quickly he transitioned from a secondary option to a franchise piece. He didn't just scale up his volume, he created a new offensive blueprint with ISO scoring, step backs, and of course his elite foul drawing. I mean, James Harden had people so scared of him that they would be guarding him with their hands behind their back just so they wouldn't get a foul. Harden went from being the 6th man at OKC to one of the faces of the league, a transformation few players have ever made. Kawhi Leonard. When Kawhi Leonard was drafted in 2011 and traded to the Spurs, he entered a system built around Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili. So early on, his role was simple: defend, rebound, and stay in your lane. As a rookie, Kawhi averaged just 7.9 points and 5 rebounds a game, but even then, his IQ and defense stood out. By his 3rd season, he was still considered a role player, just an elite one. But that all changed in the 2014 NBA Finals. Kawhi averaged 17.8 points on 61% shooting, took on the LeBron James matchup, and won Finals MVP, all at the age of 22. Over the next few years, his offense evolved. In 2016, he averaged 21 points a game and finished 2nd in MVP voting the next season, putting up 25.5 points, 6 rebounds, and 3.5 assists, all while continuing to dominate defensively. But his true superstar moment came in 2019. After a year-long injury saga and trade to Toronto, Kawhi led the Raptors to their first championship, averaging 30 points, 9 rebounds, and hitting one of the most iconic shots in playoff history against Philly. Kawhi went from a low-usage, defensive-minded player to a 2-time Finals MVP, multiple-time All-Star, and one of the most efficient two-way superstars of his era. Giannis Antetokounmpo. When the Bucks drafted Giannis 15th overall in 2013, most fans had no idea who he was. He was just a tall, skinny teenager with long arms, a lot of athleticism, and flashes of ball handling, but nowhere near a finished product. In his rookie season, he averaged just 6.8 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists, playing right under 25 minutes a night. He showed flashes, but nothing suggested future MVP. But each year, he added something new. One year it's size, one year strength, vision, confidence. And by his 4th season, he went crazy, putting up 22.9 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks, becoming the first player in NBA history to finish top 20 in all 5 categories in a single season. In 2019, Giannis won his first MVP, averaging 27 points, 13 rebounds, and 6 assists, while leading Milwaukee to 60 wins. He followed that year with back-to-back MVPs and even a Defensive Player of the Year, becoming just the 3rd player ever to win MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season. Then came 2021. Giannis shot 50 points in the finals to lead the Bucks to their first title in 50 years, solidifying himself as the most dominant two-way player in the league. From a bench warmer with no jump shot, well, he still doesn't have a jump shot, but to a 2-time MVP, Finals MVP, and NBA champion, Giannis' rise wasn't just about talent, it was about work ethic and mentality. Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler entered the league in 2011 as a 30th overall pick, barely in the first round. Coming out of college, he wasn't too much of a flashy player. There was no hype, he didn't really have an offensive bag. It was just straight toughness, defense, and he just hustled a lot. In his rookie season, Butler averaged just 2.6 points per game, and he didn't even play 10 minutes. Even in his 2nd year, he was more of a defensive specialist, someone who guarded the other team's best wing, but he rarely touched the ball on offense. But Jimmy kept grinding. In year 3, his minutes jumped. and he started showing more scoring and playmaking. By 2015, he made a big leap, averaging 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists, and won Most Improved Player. Jimmy Butler's game was never built on flashiness. It was effort, footwork, mid-range pull-ups, post-ups, and just showing up in big moments. His true transformation came in the playoffs. In the 2020 season in the bubble, Butler led the underdog Heat to the finals, averaging 22.2 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 6 assists, and he even had a 40-point triple-double in Game 3 against the Lakers. Then in 2023, he went full playoff Jimmy mode, dropping 56 points in a Game 4 win versus the Bucks, knocking them off as the number 1 seed and carrying Miami back to the finals as the 8th seed. Jimmy Butler didn't rise through highlights or hype. He built his name through defense, leadership, hustle, and just showing up when it matters the most. He's not just a star, he is a postseason assassin. Nikola Jokic. Jokic was drafted 41st overall in 2014 during a Taco Bell commercial. No fanfare, no spotlight, just a chubby, unknown big man from Serbia that could pass the ball and had soft touch. He didn't come over to the NBA right away though, and even when he debuted in 2015, he wasn't starting. But in just 13 games it was clear. His basketball IQ was on another level. He finished his rookie season averaging just under 10 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists in only 21 minutes. By year 2, the Nuggets built their entire offense around him. His scoring jumped, his assists jumped, the team got better, and by 2019, Jokic was an all-star, averaging 20, 10, and 7, and leading Denver to 54 wins. So Jokic had already exceeded his expectations, but then came his MVP years. In 2021, Jokic averaged 26, 10, and 8, won MVP, and became the first center since Shaq to win the award. He won it again in 2022, should have won it in 2023 over Embiid, and then did it again in 2024. That's 3 MVPs for a player that was drafted during a Taco Bell commercial and nobody knew who he was. But even if you say MVPs are just a regular season award, he did it in the postseason. He made it to the finals in 2023 and won a finals MVP. He became the first player ever to lead the entire postseason in total points, rebounds, and assists. Jokic is redefining what a center could be. They could be an elite playmaker, efficient scorer, and just the anchor of an offense. From second round sleeper to the best player in the league. That brings us to our last player, Jalen Brunson. Brunson was drafted 33rd overall in 2018 by the Mavs. He came in with a winning nature. He was a 2-time NCAA champion at Villanova. But in the NBA, he played a different role. He started as a backup guard behind Luka. In his first 3 seasons, Brunson played his role. He was a smart, decision-making, efficient scoring, and leader off the bench. But nobody felt that anything about him screamed future star. In year 3, he averaged 12.5 points and 3.5 assists, still mostly in a supporting role. But then his breakout came during the 2022 playoffs. The Mavericks were playing the Jazz in the first round, but Luka had to miss the first 3 games due to injury. Even with Luka out, Brunson torched Utah for 41 points in Game 2, and he averaged 21 points across the entire playoffs, showing that he could carry a heavier offensive load. The Knicks took notice, and they paid him $104 million over 4 years. A lot of people at the time called it an overpay. But in year 1 with New York, Brunson proved everyone wrong, including me. He put up 24 points and 6 assists, took the Knicks to the second round, and clearly became their leader. Brunson isn't the biggest or the fastest guard, but his control, decision-making, and ability to get a clean shot anytime have turned him into a legit number 1 option and one of the most efficient guards in the league. From second round pick to the best point guard the Knicks have ever had in decades. Let me know in the comments, who's the next role player you think could take that leap into superstardom? If you like the breakdown, drop a like, sub for more, and I'll catch you in the next one.